if you are trying to do a song where you're trying to go from one prop to another prop and you don't have a large team of people, what I have done that works successfully for me is like I did a wedding mashup for my friends. That was like a 12, 14-minute show. And I used 4 different props or 5 different props. And what I did was, because I was trying to make it like, you know, a little spiritual or whatever, I had, you know, facing north, south, east, west. And then what I did was in my performance area, I had, so if you're only doing 3 props, you'd start with one of them in your hand. And then I would have the second set of props laid out on one side and the third set of props laid out on the other side. Now, the challenge, of course, is they can run out of fuel. If you bag them and you try and unbag them, that can be very difficult. Now, if you have a fire safety, it's easy. What you do is, if you don't have a fire safety, which you should never be doing, but if you don't have a fire safety, the way I would do it is I would leave the props out, I would not spin them off, and I would keep them in bags until right before you start the music. Then I would take them out of the bags. So I'd spin them, put them in bags, soak them, put them in bags, let them sit with me, and then right before the music starts, pull them out of the bags in the 2 different spots and move the bags away because it's a fire hazard. And then during your set, you walk up to the prop, you light the prop while it's on the ground, and then you change the prop out. And then you leave the burning prop on the ground. So this doesn't work if you have a surface that you can't leave the fire on. For example, like when we were doing shows in Union Square, they charged us money if we left marks on the stage. And we did the first year, and they charged us money. So like if you have a situation like that, you should put something underneath it, like a piece of duvetine. You'll ruin the piece of duvetine. Or you could bring a metal tray, which would be actually, you know, more durable. I guess a grill tray would work. I was thinking of a dish, like a cookie tray, like a dollar cookie tray, you know what I mean? Or better yet, you can get one of the disposable Reynolds wrap, like aluminum ones, and then you have you get a really small one for each prop. And then, although for the fans, you would need a bigger one so that you can have the heads on the top of it. Yeah, well, yeah, but the flatter the better. You don't want it tilted, right? I would try and get a flat one, not like a deep one. And then, so if you're trying to protect the ground, you can put that down on the ground underneath it, and then you can light your prop, and then you can leave your burning prop in its place. So remember, the tray has to be big enough for whatever the burning prop was as well. And then you do your second prop, then you go over to the spot with your third prop, then you change out your third prop, and by that time, probably your first prop is out, and then it'll almost assuredly be out by the end of the second change out or the third prop. But the second prop may still be burning depending. If you do have a safety, way easier. You can still have the 2 props in the 2 areas, and you can still have them on the ground, but I think it's actually better if you leave them covered, have your fire safety person keep them in the bag, and then you give them a cue that you're changing out the prop, and it could be a visual cue, it could be a certain way that you turn, it could be I'm gonna be dancing all up stage, and then I'm gonna move back, and when I move back and I do a turn, you know that's my cue that I'm gonna come to you, so take it out of the bag then, and then I'm gonna come over to you, and then you're gonna hold the prop up, and or they can put it on the ground and you can light it that way, and they don't have to actually do anything like that. But it can be nicer if they're actually engaged in the prop exchange portion. And then you change out the prop that way. And then you remember you have to I would do the same cue if you're gonna do a visual cue. You could have them put on a timer that they use to measure how long it's actually gonna take before you're doing the prop change out. That could be a useful way to do it. The problem with a timer, though, is they have to be looking at the timer, or they have to set it to ring like 10 seconds before so that they feel it on vibrate so that they can still be looking at you. They can't really be safetying you if they're watching a timer, you know? So a better way might be having the timer on a vibration mode so that they can feel it when the timer's going to go off. you could do a combination of the two. I would see if you could practice it with them once before, at least. You should end with the fans because then she doesn't have to extinguish those. Torches, poi, fans. Yes, that makes sense. So what you should do is have her, before you actually race out to the gig, you should have her come to your house. Okay, great. Go over to her house, but make sure she actually extinguishes the poi for you. The thing is, when you're teaching somebody how to extinguish, if you dip and you do a full soak, it's going to be much harder for them to extinguish. So do a quick dip and then have them extinguish that. And it should light more than once. Like if you light it and then they do it, you should demo it once. Then you won't need to re-dip it probably. And then light it again, have them try and put it out. And if they look even remotely hesitant, have them do it at least one more time, ideally at least 3 times, so that because you can tell somebody how to extinguish fire. Oh, all you do is smother, but when it's coming at you, they get all crazy. And then the thing that I find that people end up doing is this thing where they're like fanning the flames as opposed to smothering the flame. Making it really clear is helpful. So feel invited to send them that video of me talking about it and smothering it so that they know in advance before you go there, and you don't have to actually teach it, because I know how you don't like to teach. And then you can, so you can give them that video and be like, here, this is how you smother. And then when you show up, say, hey, let's practice so you don't get caught up in things. And then make sure that you tell them to wear fire-safe clothing and no synthetics. I think it's important too, but, not everybody thinks about these things. So